So, there I was, Jenna, just cruising through the local park, headphones in, blaring some old school rock. The breeze was nice, and it was just one of those perfect days for being lost in your own world. I'd just wrapped up a coding sprint for the new app one was developing. Working from home has its perks, like no one cares if you're in your pajamas at 3 in the afternoon. As I was rounding the bend near the old oak tree, that's when it happened. Out of nowhere, I collided with what felt like a brick wall, sending my phone flying and ripping my headphones out. I barely had time to register the surprised yelp that matched mine. "Oh, crap. I'm so sorry," I blurted out, scrambling to my feet, brushing dirt off my jeans. The brick wall turned out to be a guy, probably around my age, with a shock of brown hair and a kind of sheepish grin that immediately put me at ease. He was already picking up my phone, checking if it was okay. "Hey, no harm done, but maybe watch where you're dancing next time." He chuckled, handing back my phone which, thank God, was still in one piece. "Thanks, and yeah, I guess I got carried away with the tunes. I'm Jenna, by the way," I said, still a bit embarrassed, but relieved he was cool about it. "I'm Jake. Seems like you've got a killer taste in music," Jake said, nodding towards my phone. We both laughed it off, and I noticed he was holding a frisbee. "You play?" I asked, gesturing to it. "Yeah, was just about to start a game with some friends, but they bailed." "You play?" "Not really, but there's a first time for everything, right?" I shrugged. It wasn't like I had plans, and he seemed like good company. "Cool, let me show you the ropes then." His smile was infectious, and honestly, I was already curious about him. We spent the next hour tossing the frisbee, chatting about everything from our favorite bands to our jobs. Turns out, Jake was an engineer at a local tech startup, which gave us tons to talk about since we were both in the tech field. It felt so easy, like chatting with an old friend. As the sun began to set, Jake glanced at his watch. "Hey, you hungry? I was gonna grab a bite at the cafe across the street. Join me?" I was actually starving, and I figured, why not? "Sure, let's go. But just a heads up, if they have chili fries, I'm not sharing," I warned him playfully. "Huh, challenge accepted. Let's see if their chili fries are worth the hype then," he said as we started walking towards the cafe. By the time we said goodbye, it was clear this wasn't going to be just a one-time thing. Jake asked for my number, and I gave it to him, feeling that buzz you get when you know something good just started. After a few months of dating Jake, things were going pretty damn well. But like every romantic movie where the sun's always shining, there had to be a cloud somewhere. That cloud, in my story, turned out to be Linda, Jake's mom. "So, you're finally going to meet my mom," Jake said one Saturday morning as we were having breakfast. He had this half-smile, half-wince thing going on. "Just a heads up, she's a bit intense." "Intense like how?" "Like secret government conspiracy intense or believes in aliens intense?" I joked, trying to lighten the mood. "More like reads your horoscope and judges your life choices intense," he replied, shaking his head. We drove over to Linda's house later that day. It was one of those perfectly manicured homes you see on TV shows, where you know something's too good to be true. Jake knocked, and the door swung open. There she was, Linda, in all her glory, wearing a flowery dress that screamed, "I'm the boss here." "Jakey, and you must be Jenna," Linda said, eyeing me like I was some specimen under a microscope. Come in, come in." The living room looked like it was ripped straight out of a 1950s home decor magazine, complete with a giant bookshelf filled with all sorts of astrology books. I kid you not, there was a crystal ball on the coffee table. Linda wasted no time. "So, Jenna, when's your birthday?" she asked, as soon as we sat down on her floral couch. April 17th, I said, a bit thrown off by the sudden interest in astrology. "Aries, huh? She frowned, flipping through one of her many books. "And Jakey here is a Pisces. Not the best match, astrologically speaking. You do know that, right?" Jake rolled his eyes, giving me a sorry about this look. "Mom, come on, not everyone believes in that stuff." "But they should, especially when it comes to important life decisions," Linda shot back, giving me a sharp look. You see, Jenna, Aries are headstrong and impulsive, and Pisces are dreamers, sensitive. It can lead to conflicts, you know. I wasn't sure how to respond. I mean, who goes full psychic mode 5 minutes after meeting someone? Well, we've been getting along just fine so far, I managed to say, trying not to offend her but also standing my ground. Linda hummed disapprovingly, tapping her fingers on her astrology book. We'll see about that. Life's not just about the good times, dear. The rest of the visit was pretty awkward. Linda kept dropping hints about ensuring compatibility and watching out for the retrogrades. I couldn't believe the stuff coming out of her mouth. Jake was super apologetic on the drive home. Sorry about that. She can be a bit much, he admitted, looking genuinely embarrassed. A bit much? Jake, she basically said we're doomed because I'm an Aries, I said, trying to laugh it off, but honestly, it stung a bit. Driving back, I mulled over everything. Linda was definitely a force to be reckoned with, but I wasn't about to let her or her astrological charts dictate my relationship. I liked Jake a lot, and no amount of bad star alignment was going to change that. So there we were, a year into this whirlwind, and somehow, despite all the cosmic crap Linda tried to throw our way, Jake popped the question. We were at our favorite pizza spot. Jake got all nervous, which was funny, because he's usually Mr. Cool. He slipped the ring box across the table right as I was about to dive into a slice. Jenna, will you marry me? He blurted out, almost knocking over his drink. I was so shocked I nearly choked on my pizza. Hell yes, I managed to get out, once I stopped coughing. Everyone around us started clapping, and I was just there, all teary-eyed and laugh-crying. Planning the wedding, on the other hand, was anything but beautiful at first. Trying to make a guest list and figure out a venue was stressful enough without Linda's constant input. You know, Jenna, Mars is in retrograde around your wedding date. That's really not a good sign, Linda warned one afternoon, while we were looking over some flower arrangements at my place. I rolled my eyes so hard I thought they might stick that way. Linda, we're not picking a date based on Mars, Mercury, or any planet. We're picking it because the venue we want is available then, and it's special to us. The wedding day finally came, and despite Linda's dire predictions, it was perfect. Sunny skies, not too hot, not too cold. All our friends and family were there, laughing and having a good time. Even Linda managed to put on a smile, though it looked a bit forced. After the ceremony, during the reception, Linda pulled me aside. Her expression was serious, which wasn't surprising given our past chats. Jenna, I still think you should reconsider this union. You might be happy now, but what about when the stars shift? I had just about enough at this point. Linda, I'm married to your son now. I'm not reconsidering anything. We're happy, and that's what matters. She huffed a bit, looking around as if the answer was going to pop out from behind the wedding cake. You're ignoring the signs, Jenna. But remember, I warned you. Duly noted, Linda. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to dance with my husband at our wedding, which, by the way, is going wonderfully despite the bad signs. Jake caught my eye from across the room and gave me a thumbs up, knowing all too well the conversation I'd just survived. We spent the rest of the night dancing, laughing, and truly enjoying every moment. Life after the wedding felt like a sweet dream, but as with all dreams, reality has a way of creeping in. Linda's relentless comments were that reality for me. Every time we visited, she'd have some snarky comment ready. One Sunday afternoon, we were at her place for what I hoped would be a peaceful visit. No such luck. So, Jenna, Linda began as she served the tea. Still no good news on the baby front? You know, I read that some people are just cursed. Bad energy or something. I almost choked on my tea. Linda, really, that's not how it works. We've seen the doctor, everything's fine. These things take time. Time, huh? Or maybe it's just not meant to be. She shrugged, sipping her tea like she hadn't just suggested my uterus was cursed. I was fuming, but Jake squeezed my hand under the table, a silent plea to keep my cool. Changing the subject, I mentioned our latest big project. Actually, we'd been house hunting. Found a great place, and we're thinking of putting down an offer." Linda perked up, her interest obviously piqued. "A house, huh? And how are you affording that?" "Jake's doing well, but houses aren't cheap." I was proud of our independence and financial stability. "Actually, I've been doing really well with the app development. We're putting in equal amounts." She scoffed, setting down her cup a little too hard. "Well, isn't that convenient? Living off my son and now spending his money on a house. It's classic, really." We left soon after, but her words stung. It was the same old song, no matter how hard I worked or what I achieved. The house buying process was a breath of fresh air compared to dealing with Linda. We found a beautiful place, perfect for us, and moved in a couple of months later. I thought owning our new home would prove to Linda that I wasn't the gold digger she painted me to be. But instead, it just fueled her fire. At our housewarming, which Linda attended out of familial obligation more than anything, she pulled me aside while Jake was busy with other guests. "Must be nice, living large on someone else's dime. But we both know the truth, don't we? Just make sure he doesn't find out about your little side flings," she hissed, glancing around to make sure no one else could hear. I stared at her, shocked and angry. "What are you even talking about? I've never cheated on Jake, and I never would. How dare you?" She just smirked and walked away, leaving me there, fuming. Later, I heard through the grapevine that Linda was spreading rumors about me being a freeloader and cheating on Jake. That was the last straw. I confronted Jake when we were alone. "Your mom's saying things, awful things about me. I don't know how much more I can take." Jake was furious. "She what? That's it. I'm going to have a word with her. This has to stop." He did, and he told Linda she needed to back off or she wouldn't be welcome in our home anymore. She didn't take it well and called me the next day, furious. "You're trying to cut me off from my son, you witch. I know what you're up to, bringing men into the house when Jake's gone. Don't think I don't know." Her words were like venom, but they didn't hold any power over me anymore. "Linda, believe what you want, but I'm telling you now, stop spreading lies about me, or you'll regret it. This is my home, and I won't be harassed in it." Things had quieted down since we limited Linda's visits, but calm in my life seems to be just the quiet before another storm. This new trouble started innocently enough, just a feeling that something was off. It began at the local grocery store. I was loading bags into the car when I got this prickly feeling on the back of my neck, like someone was watching me. I glanced around and caught a glimpse of a man at the far end of the parking lot. He was just standing there, staring. It was weird, but I brushed it off as paranoia. The next sighting was at the cafe down the street from our house. The same man, sitting 2 tables away, pretending to read a newspaper, but clearly watching me. My heart started pounding. Was I being followed? When I saw him a third time, just standing across the street from our house, that's when I really freaked out. This was no coincidence. This guy was tracking me. I told Jake about it that night. "Babe, there's this guy, I've seen him around a lot lately, and it feels like he's following me." Jake looked concerned, but he was trying to be the rational one. "Are you sure? Maybe you're just overworked and stressed. Why don't you take a break for a few days? Do some of that yoga you love, chill out a bit?" I wasn't convinced, but I decided maybe a break would help. I started doing yoga again, tried to meditate, but that nagging feeling wouldn't leave me. I was constantly looking over my shoulder, jumping at shadows. One afternoon, I had enough. I was going to prove I wasn't imagining things. I went to the same grocery store, and sure enough, there he was. This time I confronted him. I walked straight up to him, my phone camera ready. "Why are you following me? Who are you?" The man looked startled, then tried to walk away, but I was too quick. I snapped a few pictures. "I've called the cops," I lied. He stopped, a look of panic crossing his face. "Wait, listen, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm a private investigator." "I'm sorry, I can't say more." In the evening, we ran into him again in the parking lot of our house. Jake confronted him, grabbing him by the collar. "You better start talking or I'm calling the cops right now." The man finally broke. "Look, I was hired by your mother. She wanted proof of infidelity. I swear, I didn't find anything because there's nothing to find." Jake called Linda immediately. "Mom, what the hell are you doing? Hiring someone to spy on Jenna? Don't come to our house again. You're not welcome here anymore." The next day, Jake was all action. He had security cameras installed all around the house. "If she's pulling stunts like this, who knows what she'll do next," he said, anger lacing his every word. After all the drama with Linda and that creepy PI, Jake suggested something I couldn't have been happier about: a vacation. Just the two of us, away from all the chaos, somewhere I could breathe without feeling like someone was always watching. We ended up at this cozy little beach town, with nothing but the sound of waves and seagulls to keep us company. It was perfect. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could just sit, read a book under the sun, and not worry about secretive glances or hidden agendas. When we got back home, I was brimming with a sense of peace. That peace only grew when I discovered something incredible: I was pregnant. After years of trying and facing Linda's harsh words, it had finally happened. But with the joy came a wave of protectiveness. Given everything with Linda, the last thing I wanted was to put our little bubble of happiness at risk. So, we decided to keep the pregnancy under wraps, especially from Linda. "Let's just keep it between us and my folks for now," I told Jake, who was over the moon about the baby. "Yeah, I don't want my mom spoiling this with her negativity. We'll tell the world when we're ready," he agreed. Since I worked from home, hiding my growing belly wasn't as hard as it might have been. I swapped my fitted tees for looser shirts, and if I ever went out, I was all about those flowy dresses. But the thing was, my belly wasn't really showing that much. I was past my first trimester, yet there was barely a bump. I mentioned it to my doctor during one of my checkups, trying to keep the worry out of my voice. He gave me a reassuring smile. "Every woman's body is different, Jenna. Some show a lot, and some don't show much at all. As long as the scans are normal and the baby's healthy, you've got nothing to worry about." As the weeks rolled on, only Jake, my parents, and I knew about the little life growing inside me. It felt like our precious secret, a small miracle just for us. We'd sit in what would be the nursery, planning and dreaming about the future. "I think we should paint it yellow," Jake said one evening, looking around the room. "Yellow's nice. Bright and happy," I agreed, picturing our little one in their crib, the walls a sunny backdrop. This little bubble of joy was ours to cherish, and for now, that was all that mattered. Linda's shadow lingered at the edge of our happiness, but inside our home, within our little growing family, we were safe. 8 months in, and my pregnancy was now pretty obvious, no more hiding the baby bump. Jake and I decided it was time to celebrate with all our family and friends, even Linda. I figured maybe if she saw how real and beautiful this was, she might drop her vendetta. We threw a big bash at our place, decorating the backyard with lights and flowers. I felt like royalty, floating among our guests with Jake by my side, everyone so excited and happy for us. Well, almost everyone. Linda arrived late, her face stormy as ever. I braced myself for her usual antics, but hoped she'd keep it together for the sake of the day. No such luck. As I was mingling, I overheard her chatting, well, more like conspiring, with a group of relatives. "This is all a show," Linda hissed, not even bothering to lower her voice. "Mark my words, she's not pregnant. It's just a ploy to bind Jake tighter and dig into his wallet more." Her words stung, but I wasn't about to let her ruin this day. I approached her, smoothing down my dress, trying to keep my voice even. "Linda, can we talk?" She looked me up and down, skepticism written all over her face. "What's there to talk about? You think you can fool everyone, but not me." I took a deep breath, keeping my cool. "I'm really pregnant, Linda. There's a baby, our baby, Jake's and mine. Can't we put our differences aside, just for today, for the sake of the baby?" She scoffed, a harsh laugh escaping her. "You're unbelievable. Do you really think I'd fall for this charade? Frustrated but not wanting to cause a scene, I tried once more. Linda, please. It's a celebration. Let's just enjoy the day. She snorted, turning away from me and heading upstairs to the second floor of our house. I hesitated, then followed her, not wanting her to spread more poison among the guests. Upstairs, I found her in the hallway, fuming. Linda, why can't you just be happy for us? In a month, you'll see. There's a baby, a real baby. She whirled on me, her eyes cold. There is no baby. You're a con artist, Jenna. Always have been. I felt a mix of anger and sadness, tears pricking at the edges of my eyes. I don't know why you're doing this, but it's going to stop. Turning to leave, I started back down the stairs to the living room, eager to get away from her negativity. But as I took the first step, I felt a sharp shove from behind. My feet lost their grip, and I tumbled forward, the world turning upside down as I fell. The last thing I saw was the blur of the party decorations and the horrified faces of our guests, before everything went dark. When I finally came to, the harsh glare of hospital lights and the steady beep of monitors greeted me. I was disoriented, my body aching all over. I turned my head and saw Jake, sitting next to me, his face pale and drawn with worry. He immediately leaned closer, taking my hand. Jenna, thank God you're awake. How do you feel? Where's the baby? I asked, panic rising in my chest before I could even gauge my own pain. Jake's eyes were filled with concern, and he squeezed my hand tighter. They had to, they induced labor, to save him after your fall. He's on support, but he's fighting. Tears welled up in my eyes, and a sob choked me. Is he going to be okay? I managed to stammer between breaths. They're doing everything they can, Jake assured me, brushing a tear from my cheek. As I lay there, the memories of the fall flashed through my mind, the shock of being pushed, the terrifying tumble, Linda's face just before I turned to descend the stairs. Jake, I said, my voice firmer despite the fear. Linda pushed me. She did it. Jake's face contorted with confusion and distress. What? No, Jenna, it must have been an accident. It wasn't, I insisted, feeling a surge of frustration. Check the cameras. Please, just look. He nodded, standing up stiffly, his movements betraying his own fear and turmoil. After a few tense minutes, he returned, his face ghostly. I saw it, he said quietly. You were right. It's all there on the video. My mom pushed you. His next action was to call the police. I could only hear his side of the conversation, his words clipped, his tone a mix of anger and disbelief. When he hung up, he explained that they were taking his mother into custody. The next few days were a blur. Our son, tiny and fragile, fought for his life in his glass little bed, surrounded by beeping machines and bustling nurses. I prayed every moment I was awake, my heart living in that incubator with him. Linda was charged and brought to trial. Her defense was absurd, she claimed it was all a joke, that she'd wanted to prove I was lying about my pregnancy. I didn't mean any harm, she told the court. I just wanted everyone to see the truth. But the evidence was undeniable. The video didn't lie. The judge sentenced her to 2 years and ordered her to pay restitution. The sale of her house would cover the medical expenses and rehabilitation for our son. Months rolled into a year, and our little boy grew stronger every day. The rehabilitation was tough, endless appointments and therapies. But he was a fighter, and slowly, he caught up to his peers. By his 2nd birthday, you couldn't tell he had such a rough start. Jake and I were a team through it all, our bond solidified through the trials we'd faced. As for Linda, her actions had severed any chance of reconciliation. I made it clear, and Jake agreed, that she was not to be part of our lives or our son's life. It was a harsh decision, but necessary for our family's well-being. And as I watched our son, healthy, happy, and vibrant, it felt like the entire universe had shifted, aligning just for us, in spite of everything. Linda's shadows no longer lingered, all that remained was the light of our little family, stronger and more radiant than ever.